Greetings, everybody. Great to be with you again here on May 19th. We're catching up again on a look at US traveller sentiment, part of our Clarity in a Time of Crisis commitment. And we're, of course, we've got this wonderful education portal right there at that web address. And I just want to summarize that the information that we're sharing today is available both in this short webinar recording and a 2-page summary, and the full slide deck also that you're seeing today is available online. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Amir Alon, CEO and President of Longwoods International. Amir, do you want to take us through what we're seeing?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Chris, and good afternoon, everyone. Oops, went too far there. Well, this is, first of all, this is the last time you're going to see me with this long pandemic here, where our salons in Ohio have finally reopened. So this afternoon, I'll be enjoying time in the barber chair. But on to business. As we saw from this week's survey of 1,000 Americans, a representative sample across the U.S., 77% of travelers are planning to travel in the next 6 months either have or in the process of changing their travel plans. Now, we've seen something interesting here is that for the first time in the survey, those who have reduced travel plans is greater than the value of those who have canceled their trip completely. So folks are in the travel mindset. They're just adjusting now versus outright canceling or more than outright canceling. And you see continued growth in those who have changed from a fly destination to a drive market destination, which again will obviously benefit those destinations that are primarily regional drive markets. Over time, again, we've seen things kind of plateauing here after the peak at 85%. It's kind of hung steady in the upper to mid to upper 70s last few weeks. Nothing much new to report there, but again, as I mentioned earlier, here you can visualize it where there has been a decline in those who are canceling their trips and a spike in those who are reducing their travel plans. So again, that's going to bode well for regional travel, and intuitively makes sense because states are opening at different paces and so forth. One interesting spike over the past week where we see continued high change to again drive markets from fly markets, and again we expect this trend to continue as America slowly reopens. Every week we continue to ask the same questions about the key factors that would impact the decision whether or not to travel in the next 6 months. Transportation costs continue to be pretty negligible. Concerns about the economy continue to be low and even got a little lower. We'll talk about that in a moment. And unfortunately, after a decline here, as you can see over the past 6 weeks, we have seen a spike in fear of coronavirus. And we went from 54 to 60% in just 1 week. Well, what's happening in the news? Constant stories about as the country reopens, are we reopening too soon? Will that generate a second surge of the pandemic, et cetera, et cetera? That is having an impact on consumer fear. We'll see that translating elsewhere here soon. But as that fear of COVID goes up, of course, the concern about the pocketbook and affordability goes down. Couple that with folks more focused on regional drive travel versus long-haul flying travel, and they're looking at typically a more affordable type of getaway in their planning. So that's why we think that's all that combined, plus a couple other factors, is suppressing the concerns about the economy at this point. The $64,000 question every week is, are you going to travel in the next 6 months? And we'd seen it kind of level off for a while. It did take a slight dip this week, but it still overall looks pretty flat. Again, it is that ball of pent-up demand running into the wall of fear of coronavirus in there. Every week we ask one or two extra questions. We talked about this week about information cues indicating that it's safe to plan domestic travel. We'd asked this question once before. Not a lot has really changed. Still, by far, folks are waiting for Dr. Fauci, Dr. Briggs, the Surgeon General, to tell us that it's okay to travel foremost. One significant change week over week is that the advice from the White House Coronavirus Task Force did take a dip in there, but federal authorities are definitely tracking higher as a reliable source to indicate that it's safe than state or local authorities. And last but not least, we have to talk about resident and traveler sentiment together. As you can see, 45% of Americans really don't support opening up their community to visitors right now, as opposed to the 31% who do. That fear of coronavirus, all the media is having its impact. That debate is having its impact right there. In terms of people feeling, it's a little more evenly split in terms of people feeling safe to travel outside their communities. But then when you go back inward to the community again, you look at the residents telling us that they would feel safe to dine in a restaurant or shop in a local store, so forth. You can see again, 49% against right now, just not feeling quite safe. So for you DMOs out there, make sure that you are, that if you're doing things like business pledges, community pledges to the visitors, pledges for the residents, etc., help convey that message that everybody's going to do their part to minimize the risk if possible. And Chris, as always, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And I think a couple of these stats have actually deteriorated slightly, haven't they, from when we asked this a week ago?
Yes, correct.
So just in terms of summarizing what we've heard today, obviously there's still this desire to travel, but the continued concern about COVID-19 means we're still in this waiting room. Our US travelers are cautiously exploring different options for the summer, starting with obviously local engagement, VFR and drive. And so obviously the opportunity here is around this issue of confidence and building confidence in whatever ways you can. And so that's focusing on areas where people are going to feel more comfortable traveling and or engaging in their local community, and in drive and or in visiting friends and relatives. So seeking opportunities in those markets in the short term, and hoping, of course, for a bigger picture trend in a more positive direction in terms of the story around COVID-19, both at a state and a national level. So thanks again to our very good friends at Longwoods International for making this research possible, and you can pick up additional research right there. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.